Legal disclaimer. The information provided during this seminar is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. The presenters are not licensed medical professionals unless explicitly stated otherwise. All discussions, suggestions, and recommendations are based on personal experiences, research, and knowledge of natural remedies. Participants are advised to consult with a qualified healthcare provider or medical professional before making any changes to their diet, lifestyle, or healthcare regimen, including the use of natural remedies discussed during the seminar. Individual results may vary, and the information provided may not be suitable for every individual. By attending this seminar, participants acknowledge and agree that 1. The presenters and organizers shall not be held responsible or liable for any outcomes, direct or indirect, resulting from the use or misuse of the information presented. 2. Attendance and participation in this seminar do not establish a doctor-patient or professional-client relationship between participants and the presenters. 3. The use of the information provided is at the participant's own discretion and risk. This seminar is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. All information is shared in good faith, and participants are encouraged to exercise personal judgment and seek professional advice as needed. But, we pray that you will seek be the great physician, and not the witch doctors of Babylon, that cut, burn, and poison the body temple. Revelation 18 verse 23.
I would go to the medicine cabinet and get out the pills and think to myself, if a headache is simply a lack of Excedrin, why don't I have a headache?
The average American is only drinking this amount of water. The average person in China who only drinks 4% of what they need, so about 3/4 of the way. That's how much water the average person in China is drinking.
In taking those 3 needle biopsies of my thyroid, they ascertained that I had cancer, but they couldn't tell what it was.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we come before you thanking you for your leading, your guiding, and we thank you for your shield of protection.
Yes.
Amen. And as we've just received word that tornadoes have hit in Arkansas and other areas, and as we've got a warning for our area, we just pray, Father, that you will continue to be with us, each one, not just us here, but each one of us that are gathered with this call, that we may be protected and shielded, and no harm and danger may come. We thank you for the methods of healing that you have shared with us, and that the effectiveness of them. And we pray that we will be able to walk with our Lord and Savior. And we thank you and praise you for your blessing in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Oh, somebody's unmuted and coughing. Or sneezing.
Okay. Making sure everything's right.
I got a communication from one of you who watches, and it was asked what to do for sluggish liver.
Well, let's get to that. I've got a whole bunch of other things we want to start out with.
Okay. So you want me to wait on this?
Yes,
okay.
wait.
Okay.
Wait. Please.
All right.
So I wanted to actually, this is what happens when we're busy and we don't get to talk much about.
Yes, we usually communicate
to plan
Sabbath
what we're
morning,
going to do, at least a little bit. So I'm going to Healthful Living, the book Healthful Living, and on page 206 and 207 we have some interesting references here, and it's about auto-intoxication or self-poisoning. And I think all of us have heard about a disease called autoimmune. Well, auto in that stance is self. So self-intoxication or a self-immune. So with that in thought, with that thought in mind, if I could talk right, I wanted to share some of the things about this with autoimmune or intoxication. Starting right at the beginning of this, it says, the more active the circulation, the more free will the blood from obstructions and impurities. The more free will be the blood from obstructions and impurities. So we need an active circulation. And there's multiple ways of getting an active circulation. We'll read about some of those here. Impurities are constantly and imperceptibly passing from the body through the pores. And if the skin is not kept in a healthy condition, the system is burdened with impure matter. Now, I don't know how many of you realize it, but if I were to ask you what your biggest organ was, it's the skin. You notice I didn't say internal organ, I just said organ. Our skin is is the largest organ. And so we need to be able to keep that in a pure way.
And like we mentioned earlier, I think in the first or second one, the skin breathes more air than you can take in through your
Lungs.
nostrils or your mouth. And if those pores are shut off, like in a tar and feather situation in the 1800s where they used to tar somebody's whole body and then put feathers on them, they literally would suffocate to death within hours.
A short time, yeah.
And so that was a death sentence. It really was.
So going on with the quote here, if the garments worn are not frequently cleansed from these impurities, and the pores of the skin absorb again the waste matter thrown off. So we sweat or we emit from our pores these poisons, it's absorbed into our clothing, then we chill a little bit and we turn around and reabsorb those poisons back into our body and make ourselves sick. So we're literally self-sickening ourselves or auto-intoxicating. Going back here to our reference.
Okay, that's one reason why the plastic clothing that they
Exactly.
make
Yes.
is a problem, because it won't absorb anything and wick it away from your skin.
That is why polyester, acrylic,
Nylon.
nylon, all of those clothings, because they don't absorb and wick away like wool does,
And
or
made
even cotton or silk or linen.
being made from a petroleum product, that's cancerous. That gives you cancer.
So we're adding to the problem
Burden.
by adding other
By adding-
chemicals
yes.
to it.
Correct.
By adding, by having on improper clothing will cause us to
Close off those pores.
close those pores off so we don't get it. And then if we're not getting, there's times I've looked at my clothing and I go, oh, I never even got it dirty today. Maybe I'll just wear it tomorrow. But if you stop and think about it a little bit, your body emitted poisons, toxins off of it. And so as your body emitted those things off, it's absorbed into the clothing. And even if it is cotton or whatnot. And so then it's being reabsorbed again. So we want to, with having washers and dryers like we have now, it's so easy to throw them in and push a couple of buttons. It's not hours on a washboard. Anyway, back to our quote here. The impurities of the body, if not allowed to escape, are taken back into the blood and forced upon the internal organs. Nature, to relieve herself of poisonous impurities, makes an effort to free the system, which efforts produces fevers and what is termed disease. And going on to the next one. Many families suffer with sore throat and lung diseases, and liver complaints brought upon them by their own course of action. They keep their windows and doors closed, fearing they will take cold if there is a crevice open to let in the air. They breathe the same air over until it becomes impregnated with poisonous impurities and waste matter thrown off from their bodies through the lungs and the pores of the skin. These impurities are conveyed to the blood through the inhalation of the lungs. And dropping down again here. If physical exercise were combined with mental exertion, the blood would be quickened in its circulation. The action of the heart would be more perfect, impure matter would be thrown off, and new life and vigor would be experienced in every part of the body. And that was just part of that one. I'm going to drop down for one more. The studied habit of shunning the air and avoiding exercise closes the pores. And when we're talking about exercise here, we have learned, I've just got to be able to add and say here, we're talking about exercise. I'm not talking about going and running 4 miles or 6 miles a day or even 1 mile a day. I'm talking about a walk. Or if you're to a level of where you can't, your health has declined, where you can't get out and do a vigorous exercise, do some exercise. I have found, driving down the road when we were traveling last year out west, which is a lot of miles and a lot of hours sitting behind a steering wheel, it's really easy to start getting drowsy as I'm driving along because I'm just sitting there hour after hour. Well, I found these, and I should have grabbed one of them, brought it in here, but I didn't think about this. I have these hand exercising things. It's just a coil, like a coil spring with a couple little handles. You put it in your hand, and so you just open and close your hand. You're just squeezing it. Yeah, you're just squeezing it, and it squeezes hard. So I'll sit there and I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4 with one hand, and then I'll go to the other hand. I put it in the other hand, and I start doing this with my other hand. And yeah, there's some resistance, so I'm working it there. And I will find by the time I do, well, to start with, when I first started doing it, by 15 I was going, squeeze! Oh, man, it was really hard. And now I can pump 50 or 60 and sometimes even more, upwards to 100 of those. So I'll pump one, and then I'll do the other hand as I'm, driving with this hand, and I'm pumping with this hand. Point being, I'm getting some circulation moving. I'm forcing, even though I'm sitting there driving, and by getting that circulation moving, I wake up. And I've related that to, I saw that.
What was it?
Exercises. I am doing my exercise. The little finger up and down movement thing. Yeah. That's cute. I like that. And I think it takes a little bit more than that. But literally, there's things we could do. They make little things that, like a bicycle that you can, or if you don't even have that, you could just, you lift your legs and just move your legs like that. Or move your arms in and out with nothing in them. Just something to get some action and some movement. And it's surprising. It's like we've shared before with Melanie's grandmother when she first came to our house. I walked her from the closest I could park to the gate into the house, which was about 20 feet of sidewalk, and there was about 14 steps, but they were real shallow. They weren't very tall steps, so they were kind of long and
broad and wide.
Broad and wide. So they were awesome stairs for if you don't want to lift your legs high, which is hard to do if you're struggling with your health. Yeah. So by the time we got her in the house, she was absolutely winded, just breathing hard and exhausted.
It took her about 10 minutes.
And it took us a while to get in there. So when we started working with her, we've given her herbs to help her heart, which was so bad. And then we began exercising with her. And the day one, like I've said before, we walked outside, we made it a few steps beyond the the end of the sidewalk into the driveway. She sat down and rested. We turned around and we came back. Within a few months, she was walking a mile out and a mile back nonstop. And I'm not talking a race walk, but just a fair walk. And she'd walk out, she'd walk back, no sitting down, no resting. And later in the day, she'd go, I think I'm going to go for another walk. I enjoyed that. The birds were singing and da-da-da. And she just, off she goes and does another mile the same day. So she built up by just continually working. And it took several months to get to that point for her. So my point is that by physical exercise, by air, not forbidding air, fresh air to be in the house. It's been warm here lately, and I've had the doors hanging, windows hanging open, getting that fresh air into the house. And I want to go now and finish and read one more quote, and then we'll move on here with all of this. The studied habit.
Just real quick before you go on, is a rebounder okay for that?
Yes.
Yes.
I would say yes, definitely, without a hesitation. There's one in our other room, but open the window or take it out. Open the window, open the door so you can get some fresh air at the same time so that you're not just breathing the same air in the house. Or if you can take it outside and do it outside, that's even better. But yeah, there's the rebounder and doing different things. The rebounder gives you one type of exercise. Moving your arms can give you another. Walking is another. I mean, there's lots of different things. You do what you can do. You push yourself a little bit to do just a little bit more each day, and you slowly gain and improve as you go forward.
They say the rebounder goes to the cellular level. It causes each individual cell to pump as it should. So that's actually very excellent for the cellular level of healing.
So page 207, bottom of the page here, it says the studied habit of shunning the air and avoiding exercise closes the pores, making it impossible to throw off impurities through that channel. The burden of labor is thrown upon the liver, lungs, kidneys, etc., and these internal organs are compelled to do the work of the skin. Thus, persons bring disease upon themselves by their wrong habits. And oftentimes, we don't even know what we're doing is bringing disease upon ourselves. I mean, I have to say, every single person that we've worked with that has cancer, we will say, well, we're gonna put you, in the fever bath and then in the cold wet sheet wrap, and we'll let you sweat there. And their immediate response is, I don't sweat. And that is the common denominator. That means the pores are plugged. Melanie didn't sweat before she had cancer. Her father didn't sweat.
For years.
Years you didn't sweat before that. I'd be sitting, we'd be together in a meeting or someplace or up on a roof. And I'm just up on the roof. I'd be just dripping, it's pouring off sweat, just raining off of me.
And I'd be a bit moist.
And
I was not a sweater.
She didn't sweat. So getting those toxins out, if you're not sweating, it's because the pores are not working right. And so I will have to say, how do you get yourself to start sweating? Real simple.
Contrast baths.
Contrast, either in a bathtub or in a shower if you've got a shower. Hot shower, hot, just as hot as you can stand it without burning yourself. And then turn off the hot water and take a cold. And if you're afraid you're going to pass out in that cold water, have somebody else turn it on off the hot and cold for you and sit on the floor. So if you pass out, you'll wake up. When the cold water hits you, you might pass out, but give it 5 seconds and the cold water will bring you right back around again. Don't panic. And you don't always have to do... Melanie and I were doing contrast baths this winter, and we would go from... We have a shower and a bathtub in the same bathroom. We'd go from the hot bath, and our water was pretty cold at that point, and I couldn't handle it straight cold. So I would turn on a little bit of hot with the cold. It was still a lot colder than the bathtub that I'd just come out of, and get in there and stand there for 30 seconds or so, do the rotisserie thing and get it on all sides, and then go back to the hot water again.
Then I found out what he was doing, so I'd get in first and leave it on cold and let him get in.
She's tougher than me.
We have a
Yes,
comment.
go ahead.
I've seen one other thing cause a person to lack sweat. My mom always bragged that she never sweated. And when she came to live with us, we figured out why. She didn't ever drink water. We got her to start drinking water.
This
and
is
she
a
stopped
problem.
And she
sweating.
started sweating. Yes, yeah, you can't sweat out what you don't have in. That is a very good point. The other thing, since we're on this, and I know we're off of where you needed to go with that, but we'll dive there. I want to talk about deodorants and antiperspirants, anti-sweaters that you put under your arm so that you, quote,
Stop
don't
the
stink. Can you grab the zinc that's on the counter?
Oh, sure.
So there is a powder. It is called zinc oxide. You can find, and we can talk about where and how to get it and whatnot at a later point. But zinc oxide is just a white powder, and it's zinc. Now, you remember with the big problem we had with here a couple of years ago, when everybody was saying, and everybody was getting sick, and some were saying that zinc is the solution. You need more zinc. And I said to Melanie, we got lots of zinc in the other room. So what you do, if you want to use something besides your antiperspirant that's plugging your pores where your lymphs are located, where you need to be getting rid of that odor or toxins, because that's what the odor is those toxins. So if you get zinc powder, what you do is get your hand wet in the sink, rub it under the arm, get things moist. I dip like 2 fingers under the water. I put them here in and I unplugged the top camera because I thought that was the problem, but let's see which one. I've got that one on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can just see that it's the just a white powder that's in there. And we'll dip our fingers in the powder. Get some, it doesn't take a lot. Get a little bit of the powder on wet fingers. It kind of sticks to it. And then take and just rub the zinc. It does make you white. It shows white because of the white powder. But there's a little
You
saying.
don't want it caked on.
No, you don't put it. It's
just a
just a
little
little tiny bit. I mean, this jar, we've probably been using it for what, 2 years? And it's still
At
half
least.
full.
At
Maybe a
least.
little longer. And it doesn't take but a small amount to be able to do that. But anyway, there's a little saying. It's called Take zinc, don't stink. And it works. It works well. And you can sweat even after the zinc has been applied. It will
doesn't
sweat.
stop.
It doesn't stop, but it kills the odor. Plus, of course, you're absorbing zinc, and zinc is an essential thing that we all need. So, anyway, just a thought with
The interesting thing is,
that.
for years, I had white splotches under my fingernails, the white that move out with your fingernails. I suffered from those for years and years, and they're very white, and sometimes they're large, sometimes they're small. But that's a lack of zinc. And so
zinc under your arms,
zinc,
and that goes
yeah.
away, which
in
helps
just
say
a
that
couple of months, I got shed of those, and I've never had a problem with
the
that
white spots under the
white
fingernails.
spots under the fingernails since then. So the body absorbs what it needs of this when you place it under your armpits.
And the whole idea that we're taking the time to talk about these things is because preventative is so powerful. There's no reason that we should wait until we're really sick.
An ounce of prevention is worth a
Pound of cure, maybe 10 pounds.
Yes.
No, that's beautiful. I took notes on that. But do you know that zinc will deplete your body of copper? And if you have copper deficiency, I'm probably telling you stuff you already know, and I apologize, but just in case, it can make you have weak vein walls. You can start having bruises, and you can start having spider veins, varicose veins. And some people who have like a brain aneurysm, it's because of a copper deficiency, and you get wrinkles and things like that from weak skin.
I had forgotten that, Carolyn. I had forgotten that. So
Zinc in the morning and copper at night is what I do. So.
Okay. So Mark is looking up what foods are high in copper.
That's exactly. I was looking
He's
for
going to his book
because this kind of is a supplement type thing. It's just, I mean, it's a mineral is all it is, but
date.
Okay.
I take zinc every other day, so it does not destroy my copper.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't use this zinc powder every day. I find that if I use it for several days,
And this is putting it on the outside. We don't put it on the inside.
yeah, we're not taking it internally. But if I use it for several days, I can go several days without and not have any odor issues with it. So I was looking to see if I could come up with
Copper?
with the copper.
Right there.
There we go. Okay, so copper is part of every body tissue with manganese, improves proper assimilation of iron. So, and that's the one thing we found. If you are deplete on one thing, it creates problems on others. If you're deplete on vitamin A, you cannot get the vitamin D that you need. All of these things are interrelated and they all work. So we need to keep a balance of all of them. So it involves red cell production. It improves digestion. Let's see here. It helps with the nerve sheaths.
Myelin sheath.
Maintains muscle tone. Yeah, I need some more copper here.
Yes.
I want some muscle. Converts amino acids, tyrosine that gives color to the skin and hair, synthesizes, you say that word, something lipids.
PHSOPH.
Phospholipids.
Phospholipids. Thank you. Say it again, Karen.
You're welcome. And I would like you to repeat them from the beginning, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I missed right in there.
Read it again. She's writing it.
Oh, okay. So copper. Let's see here. It improves proper assimilation of iron. It helps with red blood cells. The formation of red blood cells.
RNA production.
Helps the digestive system. The formation of myelin
that protects
the sheath or the nerve sheaths, myelin sheath. Helps maintain muscle tone. Amino acid tyrosine. It converts amino acid tyrosine that gives color to the skin and hair.
It synthesizes phospholipids.
Functions with vitamin C.
Phospholipids with vitamin C.
Okay, so it helps with anemia, osteoporosis, baldness, bed sores, edema, and leukemia. So foods that it's in. Whole grain cereals, almonds, green leafy vegetables, dried legumes, beans, blackstrap molasses. There you go, dear. You need more blackstrap. She doesn't like blackstrap molasses. I wish we should have had it on that camera so you could have seen the look.
I don't like it, George.
I do. I think it's really good.
prefer the neck strength down.
So anyway, there's a few foods that is high in copper, and herbs, burdock, chickweed. Oh, there we go. We have chickweed prolifically growing in our greenhouse. Volunteering. We can't kill the stuff, and so we keep pulling it up and juicing it. Comfrey, garlic, eyebright, juniper, kelp, and spirulina. I'll say the herbs again for those that are taking notes. Burdock, chickweed, comfrey, garlic, eyebright, juniper, kelp, and spirulina.
Melanie,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes, Karen.
When I take blackstrap molasses, I put it in almond milk and stir it, and it's not bad that way.
That's the way he
That's
loves
how I
it.
like it.
It's too sweet for me. I have a
Oh,
hard
I
time
see.
getting sweet things.
I love, especially if you warm the almond milk and the molasses
Correct.
just enough to make it like a nice, warm drink. That's
Like chocolate milk, like chocolate milk.
yes, I
My
love
husband
it.
drinks it at night in his milk, but he warms his milk also.
Okay.
I love it that
Awesome.
way. But Melanie still says, "Ooh, nasty."
Not
Anyway, so there is a little help with copper.
Okay, someone says here, I have a copper water bottle. Is there any concern of getting too much copper? I would think any overdose on anything wouldn't be good,
But I don't know that you're going to get an overdose out of just copper water bottle. I
that's
mean,
like
having
great
copper
grandma's
pipes in the
great grandma's
house
generation used to eat off silver spoons, and they hardly ever got sick because
they
of
were
the
getting
silver.
like a colloidal silver.
Yeah, but now we have just flatware that's stainless steel.
I don't. If it's a copper water bottle, that would probably be a good thing because copper kills germs.
Right.
Okay, you're correct.
And so, I mean, if you put copper door handles, copper knobs, stuff like that, where you're going to touch it to open a door, turn the faucet. If it's a copper faucet, you're gonna kill off those germs that are getting out of your body or trying to get to your body.
So my question would be, how much it would leach out of the bottle if the water was room temperature or cold. I could see it strafing off more if they pour very hot water into that bottle. That could be an overdose, couldn't it?
Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not certain.
Like
either.
That's something for
This
research.
is beyond me.
Yeah, I'm
I've
not
not
sure if
studied
that-
that.
Yeah, if I could just jump in for a second,
Carolyn,
there's a
go ahead.
website called the copperrevolution.com where they talk about all those issues.
Okay, the copperrevolution.com. She says go there and you'll find out.
Okay.
Just a warning though, if they're selling up their copper products, you may want to try and look for other places for information as well because they may be biased because they have a product to sell. So be careful.
Yep.
Just be careful. Okay. But yes, that is a good question. What about a copper bottle? I would think that room temperature water or colder water is not going to allow it to leach that much, but I could see how hot water would because they say if you have mercury fillings in your teeth, never ever put cold food or hot drink or food in your mouth because it just releases its poison toxicity.
Especially the hot.
Yeah,
Especially the hot.
You should have everything just lukewarm. So.
Okay.
So
our herb that we're going to talk about is peppermint, but let's go ahead and go with the
and I want to cover this too.
talking about the liver, but we've got some good things about peppermint that we need to share as well.
Okay. We had the question come in actually from two different sources, and we're working with a third one here. Sluggish liver. The liver has 500 functions, and it's very important to maintain the health of the liver through cleansing and etc. to help it achieve its optimal abilities. So to stimulate liver activity, one of the things that has been highly recommended by many people in the past, especially in the 1800s, was the application of castor oil over the liver about 1 hour for 2 days, and then taking 2 teaspoonfuls of olive oil internally after the second day. And we've found out if you take that olive oil with grapefruit juice or lemon, it will help stimulate the liver and the gallbladder to flush. But we would encourage you, if you've never done something like that before, not to do that unless you take Epsom salts to open the bile ducts like we've talked about before. And you'll find those instructions on our Good Health page of the Testimony Press Publications website. We have a Good Health page, and the first, scroll down, the first, or up, whatever. The first thing on there is the liver gallbladder flush, and it'll give you the instructions, what you need, and how to accomplish that. But with this, they say just 1 hour of the castor oil pack over the liver area. Apply the castor oil pack with at least 3 thicknesses of flannel. And back in the day when they always talked about flannel, it was not cotton, it was wool. And I would encourage you to try and find some wool fabric that's not scratchy, but some soft merino wool that you could get 3 layers and put the castor oil pack on. For toxemia, when it occurs in the body, the liver is very affected, and this is a very effective way of of helping the waste products to give the liver what it needs through the skin, so the waste products can be eliminated. So that would be our encouragement for you to do, and of course follow it with the olive oil on the inside to help. And I had one other section here I was going to read from with liver as well. This helps with kidney stones, hepatitis, excuse me, indigestion problems. Hepatitis is inflammation of the liver caused by an infection and can be transmitted through various ways such as blood transfusions or contaminated food. Other causes such as poor eliminations resulting in torpid liver were also effectively helped by this treatment. So if you have slow, sluggish digestion and things just take forever to go through, and you're having difficulties with indigestion a lot, just cover the whole abdomen, not just the liver area, but clear down to the groin area. Just bathe the whole area in those castor oil packs with the flannel, and that should help. The other thing that was asked last week, and we didn't have a lot of time to cover it, and I got a communication this week saying, but my doctor says MS cannot be healed. I'm going to have this the rest of my life. Mark, you put this on here. There are some books that you can get hold of. Somebody actually gave us these. This is called The Lost Book of Herbal Remedies, The Healing Power of Plant Medicine. And we mentioned this lady's name last week. It's Nicole Appalain, PhD. And here's a picture of her. And it says here, an unexpected diagnosis of multiple sclerosis in 2000 led Nicole to apply her research skills toward her own personal wellness. And she went in an absolutely different direction than pharmakia. And she was one of the first women ever in 2015, so that was 15 years after her diagnosis and helping herself get well. She was one of the people that hit the History Channel's TV on the Alone show. Despite having MS, and she was still battling it, she went on to survive a solo for 57 days straight in a remote area of Vancouver Island with little more than her hunting knife and the wild foods and medicines that she found there. So this is a lady who has battled and beaten it and given the world some help in these 2 guides, The Forager's Guide to Wild Foods, Edible Plants, Lichen, Mushrooms, and Seaweeds. She's done her research. These are really incredible books. So can you be healed from MS? Yes, you can. Can you get off the drugs they give you? Yes, you can. Go back to nature like she did. A knife and edible wilds. Wild edibles, excuse me.
Our
Plants.
Bible tells us that God will heal all of our diseases.
Yes.
That means not some of them. The problem is, are we willing to go to the effort to have that healing?
Yes.
And that's where most of us fail.
Get off the bus.
Yep.
Because it takes effort. Our talk today is on peppermint. That is our, what are we? On the 10 healthy herbs?
And the healthy herbs. Yeah, I had to restart the computer and I lost my page. Here, it's right here. It's in the front of our book. It's listed somewhere here in the beginning.
Thank you.
What is it?
223.
I thought
He's looking for
Oh, that's for peppermint.
For the
I was
peppermint.
looking for
contents of the.
the 10 herbs.
Oh, okay.
Cayenne,
There it is. Yeah, right in the front page.
Cayenne, chaparral, cloves, comfrey, garlic, ginger, onion, peppermint, slippery elm, and yarrow.
So we are on peppermint. And I think I want to start it like this. I want to share a personal testimony about peppermint. So back in 1993, I became signed up and was part of an ambulance service and became an EMT back then. I'm not current anymore. But anyway, so my very, very first trip, I hadn't even done, well, we'd started some of the book work, but I wasn't trained for any of the things of what we needed to be doing yet. I was just starting some of the book work. And yet they needed help, and so when the tone went for us to go, I responded, and it was a volunteer deal, and I responded, and I get on the ambulance. And there's the driver and 2 leather ladies that were in the back, and the 2 ladies in the back are saying, "Here, you want some peppermint candy?" And I'm like, "No thanks," because, well, number one, we just don't do hard candies, and 2, it was eating between meals, and so I wasn't wanting to be doing that. And by the time I got to the hospital, this was winter time. By the time I was dressed warm. We're in the back of the ambulance. The ambulance is very, very warm because we had a lady who had overdone herself on alcohol, and she had been throwing up for, the report had said, more than 8 hours when we got there. And so we're in the back of the ambulance, and she threw up several times, which did not smell the best. She didn't smell the best because of her condition, her body odor, and all of that. And then to top it all off, the ambulance is going like this as we sway down the river road for 40 minutes as we drive to town. Well, by the time we got to town, I guess you might say I was just a little on the green side. I mean, I was so green that I was struggling not to just join her and start throwing up. And so I...
You staggered out of the...
I staggered out of the back of the ambulance. We got the patient into ER.
One of the ladies said to him, "Are you okay?"
And I was like, no, I'm not. I said, I've never been car sick before, but I'm really bad. I've never gotten car sick ever in my life. And I said, I don't know if that's what it is or what happened, but I'm not doing so good. I was nauseated. I was dizzy. Yeah, I was struggling. So she says, told me where to go. She says, go down to the cafeteria and you probably get yourself a cup of coffee. And I'm thinking, I don't drink coffee. I'm not doing coffee. But I went anyway because I was thinking, well, maybe a cup of hot water or some water would help. That might be good. So I went down there, and all I could have literally was the hot water, and it kind of tasted like coffee. I think they'd had coffee in the container. It wasn't but it was wet, and it kind of sort of helped. And I sat there for a little bit in the chair, and I thought, I better get back up there. They're going to be done doing paperwork in a few minutes, and I got to get up there. So I went back up, and I climb in. We get there, and we were all ready to head out. And within a few minutes, we get in the back of the ambulance there, and one of the EMTs says to me, how you doing? And I said, oh, I'm struggling. This is not going to be a fun trip home. And I said, everything just got to me, the combo of everything. And she says, you should have had a peppermint candy. And I was like, no, I don't do hard candies and whatnot. She goes, no. It has nothing to do with that. She says, did you just think we were having a snack or something and before we went? And I said, yeah. And she goes, no, it's the peppermint keeps us from getting sick. And I was like, really? Talk to me. So they shared a little bit. The next day, literally, we get a tone, and I get in the back of the ambulance. I was going for the bag of candy before they even got in the ambulance. And I had myself a piece of peppermint candy in between meals, sugar and all. Well, we used peppermint candy for a while for fighting. Melanie has car sick problems if she's especially riding in the back and whatnot. And yet we kept thinking there's got to be a way. And then one day it dawned on us, peppermint oil. Essential oil of peppermint, no matter what brand it may be, you get essential oil of peppermint, and we have found literally that, I'll do the bigger bottle, it's easier to see. You just put a couple drops on your tongue. It's kind of strong. It freshens your breath. Nausea is gone. I take one of the little bottles with me because this is a half ounce. You can take 2 ounces on an airplane with you. So you take half an ounce bottle with you, which is a lot of peppermint oil. And
Whoops, sorry. There it is.
There it is. Get the right button. Yeah, your peppermint's in the way. Anyway, so take a drop of peppermint oil, and no air sickness, no car sickness as you're traveling. It worked. I didn't know about it. I didn't learn about it fast enough with the ambulance, but I definitely used the hard candy through that. No more problems on those trips to town with all of the smells and the odors and the heat and the motion and all of that. Problem solved. So peppermint is just an absolute wonderful herb to be using for health, wellness, for the practical application for car sickness. So I want to go to, we're going to look at several different books, but I'm going to go to Back to Eden first. And it says here in Back to Eden, excellent remedy for chills, colic, fevers, dizziness or gas on the stomach, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. By the way, I've got to add, so if you're traveling and you didn't think about it because you didn't think you needed it, and you're now getting air sick, car sick, whatever, out of desperation, one time I was flying and I asked the stewardess, do you happen to have any peppermint candies, any breath mints or something like that, a peppermint candy? And she says, oh, look. And she comes back and she says, yes, I do. And I said, thank you, appreciate it. I had a peppermint, and the air sickness that I was suffering by helped tremendously for that. Anyway, going on here with this list, things that peppermint is good for: diarrhea, dysentery, cholera, heart trouble, palpitation of the heart. Pay attention to that one. Palpitation of the heart. So if the heartbeat is fast, thump, 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 thump. Peppermint, get a cup of peppermint tea, or if the tea's not available, use some essential oil with it. Influenza, la grippe, hysteria, applied externally it's good for rheumatism, neuralgia, which is an old term, and headache. So externally, you got a headache, you take the peppermint oil, put a little bit on your finger, rub it on the forehead, and it'll help relieve the headache. Of course, one of the other things that helps tremendously with headache is, because usually headache is, if it's not caused by an external source, such as trauma, injury of some sort, or something like that, if it's just a headache, you're probably dehydrated. Headache is usually the first body's way of saying, I'm dehydrated. I need water. So if you get a headache, the solution is not aspirin, it's water. So if people that go to and get an aspirin or a Tylenol or a Excedrin or whatever, and they get their bottle and they take it and they have to, of course, to drink it down with some water to get the pill down, the water probably did them more good in the fact of resolving the headache than did the painkiller that they took. Anyway, but one of the Yes.
Can peppermint be used for morning sickness?
I would think so. Although, let me think about that for morning sickness, because there was another thing
It's listed in this book for morning sickness.
Is it listed in there in the 10 essentials? Listed as okay, so it's listed in the 10 essentials that we've used, that we've shared. It's listed in here for morning sickness. But there was something else that I just looked at here recently that would help. Melanie may remember that because she and I actually talked about it. She had to step out for a moment. So we'll ask her on that. There's morning sickness.
Okay, thank you.
Morning sickness. You and I just talked about something with morning sickness to use. Do you remember what it was?
Oh, no.
My mind said, I want to say, but I was hoping you'd remember, I want to say that it was red raspberry leaf.
Yeah, that helps.
Mark,
Yes.
I've heard that peach tree leaves.
Peach tree, yes, peach tree leaves, and also I used
Make the tea.
I used
The peppermint?
the peppermint as well.
Yeah.
So, but there is another one I used as well, and I'm not recalling what it was.
Most of us think of peppermint as, a cup of peppermint tea so we can relax and go to sleep. But do you realize that peppermint is actually a stimulant? But it's also
A relaxant at the same time.
a relaxant at the same time. It's kind of like cayenne. It can increase circulation or it could stop bleeding. Cayenne can. So peppermint can stimulate, but it can also relax, depending on the need of what the body needs. How that works, don't ask me. You have to be good and go to heaven, and you can ask God how that one works, because I think you're only going to find your answer there.
When the time comes, you don't go to heaven when you die.
Yes.
Just making that clear.
Yes, thank you, dear. I didn't mean it that way, if it came across that way. So, I want to share out of Dr. Christopher's book a time that he used. I think to me, it's the most profound thing for when peppermint was used that I've ever read. I have to say I've not actually tried this. I've seen from Christopher enough testimony, and I've read enough, and I've done enough things that he says.
Vaughn tried it on Jim.
Okay.
And it worked.
And it did work.
Yes. We instructed her to do that.
Okay.
Jim.
I'd forgotten. I'm still not remembering for that matter.
Oh.
But it did work.
Yeah.
So here's what this is. This is, by the way, for those that have the book and are wanting to look it up, this is in the 20th anniversary edition on page 22, and that's Roman numeral 22 in the biography. So Roman numeral 22. At the bottom of the page, he says here, one night there came a pounding at the door. When Dr. Christopher opened it, there were 2 young men supporting a weazened old man who was struggling for every breath of air. Dr. Christopher recognized the wheezing sounds of asthma. Please, cried one of the young men, our regular doctor is out of town and we can't find his assistant. Can you help Papa alive? Can you help keep Papa alive? Dr. Christopher settled the old man in a chair and gave him a cup of peppermint tea. The man had been sick with asthma for 26 years. For 20 of those it had been so severe that he could not hold a job. He could not lie down in bed because he choked up so much that he risked death. His son built him a special chair to sleep in at night. The sons both worked to support the family's needs, including the high medical bills from this condition. The man required shots, respiratory therapy, and oxygen treatments often more than twice a week. Dr. Christopher helped the man sip the peppermint tea. 10 minutes later, he gave him a teaspoonful of lobelia tincture. Not that we promote the tinctures, you know our stand on that, but it could have been
Glycerin-based
tincture.
That's what I would recommend.
And that's what I'd recommend as well, but you could also make a lobelia tea and just use a little larger quantity because it's not going to be as strong as the tincture. So anyway, he gave him a spoonful of the lobelia. 10 minutes later, as the 4 of them talked, Dr. Christopher spooned in another dose. And 10 minutes later, another. Dr. Christopher began to quietly gather pots, pans, and buckets. Suddenly the man began vomiting. From 2 until 5 in the morning, he vomited the thick, sticky, blackened phlegm that had choked his airways. Because of the peppermint tea, his muscles were relaxed, and he suffered no soreness from the hours of heaving. So there's why the peppermint tea was too. This is something we have found. Using peppermint tea in conjunction with other herbs makes it much more powerful in its action of what it's doing. Just after 5 o'clock, well before dawn, Dr. Christopher said, "You can take your father home now. He is finished with the treatment. He is fine now." The 2 rushed to their father's side to take him home, but he said, "You don't have to help me, boys. I'll walk." Dr. Christopher settled into bed for an hour's rest before starting the next day's work. The boys took the man home to his chair, but he said, "Put me to bed, boys. I'm going to sleep in a bed tonight." "You can't, Papa. It will kill you." But the father insisted and went to bed. He fell into a heavy sleep for 30 hours. When he woke up, after sleeping soundly for the first time in 20 years, he said, "I'm healed. I'm going out to get a job." He got a job as a gardener, and he never lost a day's work. He slept in a bed every night thereafter. So here he's dealt with this for 26 years, 20 years in just as an invalid, basically.
With
And
shots
after
and
a
this and
few
that.
hours of treatment,
No, it was 40 minutes. 40 minutes.
yeah, well, he threw up
10,
for
10, 10, 10, 10.
yeah, it was about 40
Whatever.
minutes of treatment and about it was about what was it, from 2 to, what'd they say, from 2 to 5?
Yeah.
So 3 hours of throwing up. Doesn't sound like fun, but think about that. If you could, and lobelia is not real pleasant. We use it around here, and it can make you feel nauseated, and lobelia will make you throw up if it's got something to bring up with it. You've all heard me, I think, share. If not, I'm share it again. Just as a reminder, when Melanie had cancer, I gave her mullein and lobelia tea. And first time I give it to her, she promptly throws it up and is complaining about how bad it is. So I decided that I would drink some with her. And so I give her a cup, I give me a cup. I was like, okay, here we go. We're going to drink it together. And we drink our cups. And I go, ooh, that was nasty. And she's throwing it up again. But I realized as she's throwing it up, not all of it was coming up. Some was staying. And my thought at the time was, well, what's staying is working. So at least we're getting a little bit in that's working. What I didn't realize was what was coming up was working too, because it was bringing a lot of toxins and things with it as it was coming up and bringing out that stuff. And so it was all working. And by the time we got 3 months into the process, she was drinking the cup of tea. It's still today, if she drinks it now, and we'll do it just once in a while as a preventative, she'll drink it. It makes her really, really nauseated. Sometimes she'll even get a little queasy, but
It's just a mental block.
it is. It's
It's just a
probably
mental
mental.
I know
But-
at first it's a mental block.
Okay, well, since it's in your body, I'd say, yeah, it's the mental thing. I agree with you. But we can drink it together. But it doesn't make her heave and throw up for hours like it used to.
Did you want to show them?
Sure, we
all
can
the
show them
things?
that list. Yes, go ahead.
Karen?
We didn't hear what you said. I was talking too much.
Man, she's not going to talk
Oh,
again.
I had stopped it, but it's nothing.
Okay. All right. We're going to go through the list of all that it does do.
So, things that it helps for. So, Melanie,
Thank
you
you.
want to...
Thank you.
There we go. I blew it up a
You
little
want me
bit.
to read them, honey?
Yeah.
Acidity, antiseptical, antiviral, antispasmodic, anxiety, for in a bath to help the skin and the body because it'll absorb. Breath. Mark mentioned that, breath freshener. Caffeine withdrawal.
I've got it still up there for him.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Get it
Now I
over here
can
where you
really
can
see
see
it.
it.
Childhood illness, chills, circulation, colds and flus, colic, and that's what I used for our
And
middle child.
if you use, so peppermint is the strongest of the mints. If you use spearmint, it's not as strong. So you can use spearmint when they're for like a small child and use the spearmint in a small amount, and that will give you a lesser or a less strength, a less powerful.
Colic is usually indicative of a clogged liver in a baby, though. And that's because we don't do what biblically they did in Old Testament times, which we read in, what is it, Ezekiel? Where the Lord says, I found you, you were not washed, you were not salted. They used to, when a baby was born, they used to put salt on them and just gently rub it. And that would cause their liver to cast off anything that they had gotten from
Salt
mama.
is polar.
And right, the salt pulls. And so they would rinse them in fresh water, get the salt off, and they never had colicky babies, from what I've learned from an elderly individual that I met years ago. So with our third child, I'd had colicky. The first two were colicky because my liver's not the best, and so they were born with congested livers as well. With the third child, I had learned that, and so I took him home from the hospital, and the first bath he got, I salted him down and rubbed him, and
He cried a bit.
he cried a bit, but
Salt's kind of abrasive.
it is. But I let it pink up on him for a while, and then took it off, and he never had a day of colic. Never gave me any trouble with it. So, but this is something here. Peppermint will help. Congestion, constipation, diarrhea. So either way, here again, we have an herb that does either or. If you have diarrhea, it will fix that. If you're constipated, it will fix that. Digestion, facials. It's good for a facial, and you'll get the tingling. I've seen it put into shampoos. It also helps that. Fasting. It's good for when you're fasting to help soothe the digestive tract that's been overworked. For fevers, so, wow, wait a minute. We've been giving it in fevers with the yarrow so she could get the yarrow down, and we still got her fever up to 105, 106 yesterday. So that's amazing. So it didn't pull it down. That's amazing.
Because it's antiseptic, not necessarily because it stops the fever.
Okay.
Because of the menthol.
Because of the menthol.
Because it's more of a warming herb, so it would help with increasing fever.
Oh, okay. So
It would increase the fever,
my
not
friend here
decrease it.
says it would help increase the fever once we're giving a fever because of the menthol. It would give the.
And fevers are not bad. Fevers are good for getting rid of infections.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
She's saying I don't know if you can hear her, but she says a fever is not bad. It's good for getting rid of infections. Our saying here with anybody that comes, we say a wet fever heals, a dry fever kills. And when they freak out in the medical field and they give you medicine to reduce that fever, that's the worst thing you can do, because the fever is the body saying, wait a minute, I have foreign invaders and I've got to get this out of here.
I got to ramp up.
It
increases white blood cell production.
So what you want to do is make sure that person that is sick is hydrated, well hydrated. Any way you can, get them hydrated so that then inducing the fever will help them heal. Gas.
Okay.
Excuse me.
On the description
Could I
under the
ask
fever.
to tell us how to, like, say your temperature isn't high enough, you're like hypothyroid. Would yarrow tea help that, bring your temperature up a little?
Yarrow tea helps you sweat out toxins. And many times the thyroid's not working. I've seen it in several lymphoma cases I've taken care of, including my own, where the thyroid is shut down because of the lymphatics not working. You're going to need to get hydrated with yarrow tea, and we've been putting peppermint in hers here because she was having a difficult time with the taste of the yarrow and not able to ingest that much, but I wanted to make it pleasant for her as well. So
It soothes the nerves and stimulates the circulation, and in doing that, it's helping the body deal with the cause of the problem that's driving the temperature up.
Okay.
So it's not actually dealing with the temperature, it's dealing with the causes.
Awesome. Yeah, and we can see that from this list of what all it helps. So as a hair rinse going on, halitosis, Mark already mentioned that. Headaches. It relieves headaches because it's
external application.
Yeah.
And internal.
Heartburn, heart palpitations, insect repellent, insomnia. So it'll help you sleep. Take warm peppermint
And yet it's
tea.
a stimulant.
And yet it's a stimulant. Yeah, this is amazing. It helps the intestines. It relieves itching. Laryngitis is helped. And mastitis. When I was a youth, we had a cow that got mastitis, and my father took an application of an oil, I think it was olive oil, and he added some peppermint to it, and then we rubbed it on the cow and got rid of her mastitis. That just came to my head. I haven't thought of that in years. Menstrual cramps.
Morning sickness, motion sickness, muscle spasms, nausea, nerves, overexposure. So to sunlight, I'm thinking. Here it doesn't explain, but pain, peppermint bath, and it already mentioned a bath up here. Perspiration therapy, a hot cup of tea, hot bath. It might help you sweat out, so it's going to help the yarrow for sure. Relaxant and soothing. It's a sedative, and we've already seen that in that it helps in insomnia. It helps the skin, the sinuses, spasms, sunstroke or heat stroke, teething, sore throat, and toothaches. So those are just a few of the things that this herb will do for you. So it's a very, and I'm thankful for that because, you know, when you're working with children, we've had people come with kids that were so sick, and it is so hard to get little ones who have had nothing but candy and pop and meat and fried chips and whatever. It's so hard to get them to drink the healing teas, but peppermint is one that is pleasant, and so they'll take that. And I really thank the Lord that this is such a wonderful healing herb, and yet so pleasant to the taste of all. So, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Christopher's book, and some of these are going to be kind of duplicate of that, but it's another book. Here we go again with this common denominator that we look for in deciphering whether or not this is going to be helpful or good. So page 459 in this edition is we find it's a stimulant. It's and I may not say some of these words right. You can help me, dear, because you're better at pronouncing some of these big words.
Sudorific.
That induces. It means it induces sweating. It's a carminative, which is for gas, flatulence, digestive discomfort. Here you go. You say that one for us.
Right.
Gogu.
Do you know how to say that?
Show her the book.
She went.
Oh,
okay,
stepped
she's
away.
not there.
Okay, so anyway, it's big word. Why don't you go to the right page?
What does it mean?
Why don't you? I'll tell them what it means. You go to the right page, and we'll put it up on the screen.
Okay. Maybe somebody else can read it.
Read it there. Okay, so I'll freeze it. There we go. Okay, so right there on that, just above Melanie's finger. So what it means is it stimulates menstrual flow. It's a aromatic. It's a stomatic, which
aromatic.
So
and
aromatic.
Smells good.
Smells good.
It helps the sinuses.
It helps the stomach. It's an antispasmodic. That means that it relieves muscle spasms. Get a muscle spasm.
Rub some
peppermint oil on it.
Seriously.
It's a nervine, so it helps with the nerves. It's a sedative. It's a febrifuge, which is a fever reducer, and a rubefacient, which is warms the skin by increasing blood flow. So you rub it on the skin. So think about this. You've got a muscle problem. So you rub on the peppermint to help the muscle spasms, and by putting it on the skin, it warms the skin, and as it warms the skin, it increases circulation, blood flow, which then helps reduce the muscle spasms, and that's all done by peppermint oil.
And it also says it strengthens the heart and nerves, the heart muscles and the nerves, and assists in digestion, cleanses, and gives tone to the entire body. So it helps the entire body.
So it also strengthens the nerves, the heart muscles, assists in digestion, cleanses and gives tone to the entire body. Peppermint is a soothing sedative for nervous and restless people. Yet it says, he just said before this, it's one of the greatest stimulant herbs. It promotes relaxation and sleep. The oil is an excellent stomach aid. Then we got a few more of these.
Cholera.
Cholera morbus, which is sudden nausea and vomiting and diarrhea. They don't use that term anymore. Do another picture.
Yeah. I'll take my hand off of it there. Whoops.
Turn it straight.
Try.
There you go. Got it.
Going the wrong way. Okay. Then they can follow along. So we're in the medicinal uses section.
So the cholera morbus is a sudden nausea and vomiting. Helps with diarrhea. Colic, colon trouble, convulsions. It can be used for children and babies. It's good for diarrhea, dizziness, dysentery, dysmenorrhea, which is painful menstrual cramps. The way I said it, I was going to. What I said to Melanie earlier. Why didn't you say so instead of using that long word? Earaches, fainting, fevers, flatulence, flavoring agent. I got to share about that. So when our oldest son broke his femur, which is the leg bone right below the hip, he broke it about. He broke. It was a spiral break that was about 6 inches long. He was only 9 years old, and it was about 3 inches below the hip ball joint. And so he had that. Well, we knew we needed to get comfrey in him. The problem was when we made a comfrey drink using the comfrey leaves and the blended it up. We discovered we couldn't get him to take it. This is nasty, a 9-year-old that doesn't want it because it didn't taste good. So Melanie got a really bright idea. Of course, it's green, which makes it kind of just, when you look at something green, it just, it's not like you want to, if somebody served you green mashed potatoes, you'd probably go, ooh. Anyway, I've had that done. That's why I could say that. And no, my wife didn't do it. It was a long time before you.
I know, you've told me.
Yes. Anyway, so what Melanie did is she put pineapple chunks and some juice into the blender with the comfrey, and then she took some peppermint oil and dropped in a few drops of peppermint oil and handed it back to him, and he's like, wow, this is really good. Can I have more? So literally by putting some pineapple and some peppermint in there, he was able to eat so we were able to make that green nasty into something really nice.
They had to take the rods out of his leg, 3 weeks early or 2 weeks early?
3.
Yeah, 3, I think it was.
Well,
3.
they actually weren't going to take them out. They were going to leave. They had 2 steel rods inside the bone, and they were just going to leave them there. But it healed so well and so fast and was healing over, they decided they'd better get them out while they could, because the bone had already started growing over the top of the ends of the rods that were sticking out. So anyway, okay, back to this. Flavoring agent for griping, for flu, for hiccup, for inflammation, menstrual obstructions, nausea, nervous headache, nervousness, neuralgia, palpitation of the heart, restlessness, rheumatism, seasickness.
To prevent it.
Preventing it. Sleeplessness, spasms, toothache, and vomiting. So,
never boil the herb.
Yes.
Always pour the boiled water over the herb and then put a lid on it so you don't lose that goodness,
that essential oil that's in there.
So
never ever put the water in the kettle, put the herb in the kettle, bring it up and boil it. Don't ever do it. You're ruining it for medicinal use. You might have a nice tasting cup of tea, but it's not going to help you medicinally. What you've got to do, like she said, boil the water, put the water in a quart jar is what we like.
We put the herb in a quart jar.
And then add the boiling water to it and immediately put a lid. It doesn't have to be sealed. You take like a canning lid, put the lid on the top of the quart jar, just set it there, let it steep for 10 to 20 minutes, and you will have a powerful medicinal drink.
So So someone says here, and I want to catch up on these side chats.
On the side notes, okay.
I was informed by a true brother to take corn silk and make corn silk tea to dissolve my kidney stones.
Yes,
Oh my, yes.
works very, very well.
A doctor claimed that they would have to be surgically removed. No surgery. Corn silk tea, no more stones. They were dissolved. I have shared with several other persons suffering kidney stones, and their stones were dissolved. Yes, it worked very well.
We've experienced that. My father, because he didn't believe and wouldn't in natural remedies, wouldn't listen to us. He went to the doctor. He and my mom go. My dad was in a lot of pain. They do their X-rays. He's got kidney stones.
So they shot him with a laser.
They shoot it with a laser
and miss.
And the doctor says, "Oops, we missed. Well, this is too dangerous to try again. We have to wait 30 days." Well, meanwhile, Dad's sitting in his chair, groaning in agony.
He couldn't sit
He
still.
couldn't. That's true. He was
floor.
driving my mom nuts.
He couldn't sit down, and Mom was about to throw him out the front door.
So
with a suitcase.
My mom calls me and she says, "All right, what do I do? I'm listening. What do I do to help Dad get past this?" And I said, he's to drink a quart of corn silk and parsley. A gallon, like this, right here. A gallon of corn silk and parsley tea. Well, it wasn't a gallon of herb, but it was a handful of herb with a gallon of water
Distilled
a
water.
day. And Dad says, "If I drink that much, I'll be peeing all day long." And we said, "Good. The reason you're in this problem is you haven't drank enough. But so drink it." Well, Mom says, "I'll see to it. He'll do it." And that happened. And
A month later,
Dad goes back to the doctor's office for the doctor to check. He takes does his, I don't know what type of scan they did, X-ray, or what
CT.
they did.
It's a CT scan.
Anyway, whatever they did for their scan, they look and the doctor says, "Well, I can't find them.
They're gone."
They're gone. How'd that happen?" And Dad says, "My son gave me some stuff to drink and I've been drinking it and I think I peed him out." And
the doctor got angry.
the doctor said, "How do you expect me to make my boat payment if you're doing stuff like that?"
And Dad got really upset. He says, "Okay, I'm not going back to that doctor anymore. I'm going to change doctors." So he did.
So anyway, now you've had my testimony with Dad about his kidney stones. It does work. And so what I'm saying is Jim here that put this in, yeah, and Ron's agreeing with that. Corn silk. And when we say corn silk, some people go, "Corn silk, what's?" It's the stuff that everybody peels off of the corn that you get that they don't like and they complain about if you leave some of it on the corn when you husk the corn. So husk your corn and save that corn silk because it's a valuable.
If you've grown it, you don't want it out
yeah,
of
you don't want it out of the grocery store where it's been sprayed. But if it's good corn silk, I was hoping they'd be eating good corn and not garbage corn from Walmart.
Yeah. And then it says, should it be dried? You could use it fresh. You can use it dried.
Yes.
And how I dry it is I turn my oven on to 170 and I let it heat up. And when it says beep, 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 I'm hot. I turn the oven off and I put my pan of corn silk in there until the oven is cold. And then I take it out. And sometimes if I've gotten it too thick on the pan, I have to take those parts out and do it a second time. Where it's real thin, I can just take that and then bag it.
Good corn silk. Corn silk, when you dry it, should still look just like it did when it was fresh. It still should be pretty green.
It should not be brown.
We ordered some corn silk one time, and it was brown. And somebody had put too much heat, so therefore it becomes not effective.
Pearlie says lemongrass, aka fever grass. So lemongrass is fever grass. Yes, I've heard it called shave grass as well. It has quite a few names, like many herbs. But if you want to know if you've got the right herb, I don't know if this book has it, but I know Christopher's do.
Look
up the
botanical name.
The Latin.
Okay,
the Latin
here.
name.
Throw this under for peppermint right there on the top.
Thank you.
And
there you go. So it's Mentha piperita.
Right there at the top of the page. So you find that botanical name, and I've muted it. There you go. Okay.
There you go.
Or froze it, not muted. Anyway, so you look at that, the botanical name, and by looking at that, you can then compare that botanical name. You get out your book that is for identifying your herb
With the picture, and you know if it's the proper.
and you'll
proper
find
herb.
the Latin name there for it, because the Latin names always match in the same. The actual name that gets used is usually a lot of different names, so that's how you figure out if it's
Like
actually
golden
where you're
seal.
going.
On this mountain, golden seal used to be prevalent. There have been people who have harvested it and sold it. And so it's hard to find now. But most of the people up here on this mountain, they don't know it by golden seal. They call it yellow root. So different areas have different names for the different herbs, but the Latin name will always be the right one. So thank you for that, Pearlie. I appreciate that.
I want to give a flu remedy.
Okay.
So flu remedies, or flus are common, and they
We have some families that have been getting sick.
and whatnot. And of course, there's preventatives to do so that you don't get sick. And actually, this could be used as a preventative, among other things. But if you do get the flu, here's what you want to do. By the way, for those that have the Christopher's book, we're on page 461. And he says this is the greatest flu remedy. It is 1 ounce of peppermint leaves, and it is 1 ounce of elderberry flowers. And so there's an elderberry tree for you. What it looks like, they have a white flower. They actually kind of grow more like a bush. They're not a single stalk of a tree going up. It's not like one single, like a maple tree going up and then coming out. It's like all these almost succulent runner things that come up. One place where we lived, we had a massive tree there. Makes this one here look very, very small in comparison. But those white flowers work very, very well. And of course, then those flowers become elderberries, and that's what you're looking at there. And elderberry syrup is awesome as a flu remedy. It is awesome for sore throats. It's just a really, really good one all the way around. But anyway, Christopher says, essentially, he's got the recipe here, but it's, he said, make a tea out of the peppermint and the elderberry flowers. And that's the tea, like we explained with the tea, not boiling it. And he calls it an infusion. And an infusion is literally where you're making a tea with multiple herbs. So it's another way of saying a multiple herb tea. And you're putting your herbs in, you pour your water on it, you let it steep for, he says here, 15 minutes, and then take a teacup full, which is about 1 cup, every 30 to 45 minutes until the patient perspires. Then 2 tablespoons every 1 to 2 hours. So just a real simple way of taking something that will be a super good strength. He says here in this, this tea taken hot will break down congestions, equalize circulation, and restore a functional equilibrium. Keep the patient well covered in bed overnight, then sponge the body in the morning with equal parts of apple cider vinegar and water. I don't know. Some people are big pro on apple cider vinegar. I kind of shy away from it. I have seen some positive effects, though. This will act as a tonic to cleanse the waste matter from the pores, and definitely would agree with that. It would definitely. It's a good cleaner when it comes to that.
Brother Mike,
Yes.
would you please
repeat how much you drink?
Okay. Here, let me let me put it up here on the deal. Give me a second. I'll put it up on the screen for the instructions. I'm trying to get it straight. There we go. So, and I'll reread it as well. He says, he says 1 teacup full, and the teacups that I've seen are about 1 cup measurement, every 30 to 45 minutes until the patient perspires. Then 2 tablespoons every 1 to 2 hours. So, simple recipe. By the way, something that I want everybody to think about doing. And I haven't looked to see if elderberry grows out here in Tennessee where it grew out west. It was, like I said, we had it in our yard. Another place we lived, it was just down the road a short ways. There was elderberry tree. Learn some of these things. Don't just rely on calling the botanical place to order the herbs. Start learning what they look like in nature. That's why I showed you the picture of the tree, so that you get an idea of what the elderberry tree looks like. Let's see here.
It grows abundantly in Tennessee.
Does it? Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
I've never searched for it here. So you can see what the leaves look like. They even got one that's showing backwards there. So you can find that, harvest it, and the leaves can be medicinal and used as well as the berries, as well as the blossoms. All of these things are just super, super powerful and helpful. And I gotta retrieve my book here. And I wanted to there was one more thing I wanted to share on that, and now I'm not seeing. I thought it was in here, and I'm not seeing it. So, I see here it was put in the chat. I'm going to go to that. Ron says, Oregon grapefruit has the same medicinal properties as golden seal and is much cheaper. And I would definitely second that and say yes. We've lived where Oregon grapefruit was at. Last 15 years before we moved to Tennessee, Oregon grapefruit grew there. We called it poor man's golden seal. I don't know that it's quite as effective as the golden seal, but it definitely has the same medicinal properties and works well. And I will tell you, here's the one thing about it. You want to harvest Oregon grapefruit, you have to be really persistent, because it is not an easy one to dig up and harvest and do, but it's doable. And what we would do, because we learned, especially, we haven't done it so much since we've been out here, but when we were out west, we knew the herbs, and we would, on Sunday or something, if on Sabbath we'd be out walking and we'd see a plant and it's just prime, we'd go back Sunday with some bags and harvest it, whether it was the yarrow or the elderberry or the Oregon grapefruit, when they were in bloom, or some of these other plants. We would go harvest some of those herbs, bring it in, dry them, and so that we would have that, and put it in the jars. And we had lots of these gallon jars filled with the peppermint. We didn't buy it. We grew our own, and we dried it. By the way, peppermint, it's really easy to identify if it's the peppermint family anyway. Number one is the smell, but the surest way is peppermint has a square stem, and it's the only plant that the stem is square. It does get smaller as it goes up, but it has 4 edges to it, 4 corners to it as it goes up. If you were to take a slice out of it, you would have a nice little square. And so that square stem says peppermint family, although it could be spearmint, it could be peppermint, it could even be, if I'm not mistaken, and I may be off on this one, I think horehound is also in that family. Somebody could correct me if I'm wrong. It's also in that catnip. It's got the square stem to it as well. But you can smell the difference between the catnip and like the peppermint. Peppermint and spearmint, yeah, if I've got them side by side, you can sniff them and you can definitely tell the difference. If you've only got one there, it's a little harder, but when you get used to it, you can do that. So just one of those little quick identifying tips that just makes it so easy to be able to do that. So somebody's put in here, purple dead nettle. That one so what's it for? That is one.
Oregon graperoot
is also in the mint family. Oh, okay.
Purple
It's one
dead
I've never heard of.
Purple dead nettle?
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
Where does this person live?
In Canada. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
So one thing that we learned that really surprised us was when we moved to Tennessee, and we're walking along. It's like we're looking at this and looking at that, and it's like, well, what's this? What's that? What? We didn't recognize hardly anything. And yes, there are a few things that are in common here versus where we were out west. And we've even found things. We found yarrow growing in Africa, in Kenya, when we were there. And we found...
Plantain is just about everywhere.
What?
Plantain
is about everywhere. Yeah. So there were some that were common. But a lot of the herbs that we've known when we moved here, we were having to learn all over again new herbs because they just weren't the same. It's different. But that's because the Lord has planted
what's going to be needed.
What's going to be needed for that area for the healing of diseases.
Like the plants in Kenya. I think I mentioned this first or second round on our health talks. I kept saying to them as we walked, what's this plant? What's that plant? I don't know. And finally our host, bless his heart, he said, why you keep ask? I said, because I want to know what this is. Because this is medicine, but I don't know what it's for. Do you know what it's for? He said no, and so we got to our destination. Oh, and along the way, I said, there, Mark, there's some aloe vera plants, and we were going to see this little boy who had burned his arm, and I said that'd be great for a burn. So we climbed down the embankment and we cut off a bunch of the leaves. It was very spiny. Mm-hmm. It was a dry area, so it wasn't very thick and juicy.
It wasn't very
like
juicy
aloe vera here in America.
Yeah.
But we cut off a bunch, took it with us, and when we got there, we were able to use it. So I think that kind of impressed this fellow I'd been torturing for half a week on what's this, what's that. Anyway, he took us to Nairobi to the botanical gardens, and he said, see, plants. And sure enough, here's all these plants and little plaques to tell what the plant was and what it was good for. And
in
English.
Which was nice.
And there were all these plants that were good for malaria. They were good for yellow fever. They were good for what's the one we got?
Typhoid.
Typhoid. The conditions they come down with, that the diseases they get there prolifically. And he was shocked. He said, I don't know. Look. And then he was really sobered because he had lost a family member or a good friend to malaria. And here was a plant that grew by their door that could have saved them, saved their lives, killed killed the malarial
Wormwood to
virus.
start with. Wormwood is
Right.
one that is
So, but we
grows
didn't
there and
recognize
here,
it. It
but
didn't look like ours.
the plant itself, it's still wormwood, but it's a little different
Look.
to it, and so we didn't recognize it.
So God has given us the medicine at our feet and in the trees above our heads. We can praise Him for that.
And we often don't think about like peppermint being, peppermint is thought of as that nice tea that you can have
The
a cup of
English used to
relaxing
have
tea.
a little cup of a saucer of tea just because it was an English thing. No, they were wise back then. They were using
Having a medicinal
medicine.
drink, it was medicine.
So
And that doesn't mean we can't enjoy a nice cup of peppermint tea. Anyway,
So
um,
antioxidant,
antimicrobial, wound poultice,
also high
also
in
high in
vitamin
vitamin C content.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very good.
And I'm assuming that was for the purple dead
The
nettle,
purple dead
which is
nettle.
a.
nettle.
And yeah, so one
Yes.
I didn't do.
Okay.
Let me do this. Peppermint. I didn't share in here the vitamin and mineral content. So let's do that as we finish up here. So rich in vitamin A. Now this is for peppermint. Rich in vitamin A and B complex. There was
Hey,
somebody.
all you vegans who say you can't get your vitamin Bs unless you go to fish oil or something. Oh, not fish oil, but what was it? They said they had to have.
Yeah.
B vitamin
B
complex
B complex. It's high in B complex.
in peppermint.
High in calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, sodium, and iron. Moderate amounts of selenium and manganese. Small amounts of vitamin C, silicon, and zinc.
Sweet.
So there's a natural way for, and think about this. So let's back up and think about here a couple of years ago when we had the big C problem in worldwide. What they said to resolve it is selenium and vitamin C and zinc. We just read that as ingredients for peppermint. So, and I'd have to say, one little cup of peppermint tea or a few drops of essential oil would probably not be enough. But we didn't connect the dots and we didn't know our herb. This is why we take time. And I have to admit, I've read these over and over and over again, but you forget.
All peppermint oil should
I was reading the deal.
All peppermint oil should be edible. I don't know of a peppermint that's not edible unless the company
I know what's going on. I'll explain it in a
Okay.
second. So let me finish this thought and I'll expound on that. So if we go searching and when they're saying, oh yes, you need selenium and you need zinc and you need this and that, we can go looking in if we have these reference tools, even though we may not remember all of them, all of these things. I mean, I can't remember what the component is in every single herb. If I had a photographic memory maybe, but I don't. But we can go and we can look those things up. And so we find this. So that's how to then battle it. If now that we've read that, if I were to come down with COVID symptoms again, oh, I said the word. Whoops. Oh, well. Maybe they didn't hear it for the recording.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So we come down with those type of symptoms, start drinking copious amounts of it. Just as much as you can do. So essential oils. And a lot of them say, so this one, I've got the Now brand I just picked up. It says, for aromatherapy use, for all other uses, carefully dilute with a carrier oil such as jojoba, grapeseed, olive, or almond oil prior to use. Please consult an essential oil book or other professional reference source for suggested dilution ratios. Okay, this is the one that y'all saw me do this earlier. It's not diluted, it's straight. Couple more drops.
Good digestion
Okay.
day.
So, point being, why is that there on the back of the bottle?
They
It's
don't
very-
want to get sued
They're protecting their tails. They don't want to be sued.
because this is against.
This one
pharmacia,
says suggested
so-
use 1 to 2 drops with meals or as directed by a health
Do no.
professional. Do not put directly on the tongue
In red.
in red letters. Put in empty capsule, on bread, or in beverage. Yeah, some people might say it burns a little bit. You could put it in water and drink it with water. But they're protecting themselves because they don't want you to sue them.
It's really good blended in almond milk with carob powder and a
Oh,
little
yeah.
couple drops of that. We used to do that at night when we'd come home from 12 hours of hard labor with a skimpy lunch, and we were starving hungry. We'd make that and sit down for worship and sip it while we were having worship. And boy, we were ready to tip over when
Ready
we
to
got
have a happy
done with
rest.
worship.
So
Yeah.
there are oils out there for like soap making and whatnot.
They're not pure.
They're not a pure
They're-
oil.
they're-
They've got other things added. They're not done.
They're not carefully made.
So there are essential oils that you don't want to take internally. Anyway, I think we ought to wrap it up with that. I was just looking at this one to see if this one gave any warnings. This one they didn't give any warnings about, other than keep out of reach of children. So
I can tell you this. I saw a child get hold, and I was in somebody's house. I saw a little 3-year-old get hold of a bottle of cedar oil. And I don't know if it was for bodily use or for if it was for like he said, soap making, etc. But that child got a hold of it, got some drops in his mouth, and literally had a seizure. When you have small children in the house, please keep them up out of reach
Out
of
of
little
reach
ones,
and-
because they're pretty potent.
It's
stuff.
strong.
It's yeah.
yeah, it's
So-
definitely can be strong
So
even
do be
with
careful.
the essential
And
oil
if
like
you're
that.
a grandparent and you don't always have little children around, still put them up because you don't want them to get into them when they do come. So,
I got
Anyway.
one question.
yes.
Yes.
When we're talking about the zinc oxide,
Yes.
I usually use that like a sunblock, and the stores don't have it a lot anymore. And is there a way you can mix that to use like for your skin? Because I have a lot of trouble with sun on my skin. When I get out, I get red places, and I've had some skin cancer. And do you know how to fix that so that I could use it for that? Because when my folks were in South America, we had no sunblock, and the sun shone brighter down there, and so all of us have a tendency to get skin cancer because of that.
Well, the skin cancer is coming from what's in your body, the toxins in your body, the cancerous cells that are in your body from putrefaction, from eating in between meals, and not letting
Too many
fried foods.
deep fried foods.
Right.
Sunblock causes cancer. You don't want to use the sunblock. So it's the internal oil. Lots of internal oils being used will cause cancer, skin cancer,
Right.
especially if they're fried, cooked,
Fried foods.
heated oils. And
And
then
the other issue is not properly covering your body, overexposure to sun. You have to work up to sunshine. You don't just go out one bright spring day and spend 4 hours in the sun, or you're going to get burned. You're going to have problems with it. So work up slowly. If you have to do some garden work or yard work that's going to take more than 10, 15 minutes, then make sure you have long sleeves on, maybe some gloves on, and a sun hat. Cover your skin. And then if you have some time, get in a chair where you can expose your body for 5 minutes only and work up, do that 3 or 4 times a week on exposing your entire body and build that layer of what is it called? I'm so tired I can't think. Build up to get your body used to being in the sun so that it won't scorch so much. It's literally because we don't live in the sunshine for 3-4 months at a time, and then we go out and overexpose ourselves that we burn. So build up slowly, and then you will have that tanned layer to where it's not gonna to burn you and
cause skin cancer. But yeah, skin cancer is literally,
we're told in Spirit of
it's
Prophecy,
sun related because of what
of the reaction
from our diet,
from what's inside already.
Okay.
Yeah. She clearly states that the cancerous tumors and humors come from what we eat, what's inside the body. So.
Right. Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
You're welcome, hon.
Okay.
And enjoy the sunshine.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining
us. Have a wonderful Sabbath.
And do have a spot of peppermint tea while you're at it.
Yes. There you go.
It will be very beneficial to you. Okay.
So let's close with prayer. Melanie, you want to close today?
Our Father who art in heaven, we come before you to worship and bless and praise you as we come before your throne, asking that you will be our guide and our strength in this new week just ahead of us. We praise you for the Holy Sabbath, where we can come together as a church family and learn together and pray together and worship you together as brethren. And we ask that you will be with our little church family, be with those who have sustained personal loss. We pray for those who are under trial, for those in Arkansas, Donna and Lori, both that are in the path of these tornadoes, and us here under tornado watch. We ask that you will be with us and our company here. And I pray, Father, that you will also be with Wei as she strives to recover from this horrific shakeup of the car wreck. And we ask that you will help her to be able to find another vehicle. And I pray that you will strengthen her and help her boys to love Jesus and to love one another and to be kind and helpful to Mother. As they're coming into their teenage years, may they see the beauty of obedience and to everything that you have asked us to do. And I pray for strength for each one of us and for our children to walk in the way of the Lord. May we each one be ready for our soon coming Savior. In Jesus' name, amen.